So that was Jeremiah chapter 1, verses 4 through 8 from the New Living Translation. But I want to, what really got me on verse 8 say, do not be afraid of the people. He's saying, do not be afraid. So let's go down to verse 17 through 19. We're still in the same chapter, verses 17 through 19. You'll see it on the screen. Get up and prepare for action. Go out and tell them everything I tell you to say. Do not be afraid of them, or I will make you look foolish in front of them. That's like when your mama say, hey, you better fight back, or you're going to have to fight me. Don't be afraid, I'll make you look foolish. For see, today I have made you strong like a fortified city that cannot be captured, like an iron pillar or a bronze wall. You will stand against the whole land, the kings, officials, priests, and the people of Judah. And this is the part, they will fight you, but they will fail. They will fight you, but they will fail. For I am with you, and I will take care of you. I, the Lord, have spoken. I, the Lord, have spoken. And the subject for today's Youth Sunday sermon, the subject today, family, is called Wrestling with the Assignment. Wrestling with the assignment. Now, I saw the comments last week. Y'all was like, Pastor Nick understood the assignment last week. But that's what happens when you're wrestling with the assignment. When you're reluctant, you really don't know if you want to take on the assignment or not. Wrestling with the assignment. And I encourage y'all to take some notes. Take some notes. I don't know if you look on Instagram and Facebook, we've been posting sermon notes. Thanks to my Auntie Jade and wife Bree, they've been working together and making sermon notes to upload to social media. So if somebody say, what was that sermon about? You can, check out the notes online. So I encourage y'all to take some notes. But I want to start this sermon off by informing some and reminding others that you are not here by mistake. That your presence here on this earth was not a mistake. It was not an accident. Now, your birth might have been an accident in the eyes of man, but it was not an accident in the eyes of God. You might have been a surprise to your family and oops to your parents, but you was not a surprise. You are not a oops in the eyes of God. Now, your birth might have been a product of a jacked up situation, might have been a product of a messed up situation, an unfortunate situation. But no matter how you got here, the fact that you're here, the fact that you are here under the sound of my voice right now means that God can still use you. Means that you are here for a reason. You are breathing for a reason. You are here listening, watching me online, listening to me on a podcast for a reason. You are not here by mistake. Someone say, God has a plan for me. God has a plan for you, and there's a reason you are still here on this earth right now, because God has a plan for you. You were purposely created in the eyes of God. You were purposely created in the eyes of God. You were formed. Someone say formed. Shaped. Someone say shaped. And fashioned to the likeness of God, to God's likeness. God fashioned you. He fashioned you. He fashioned that nose on you. He fashioned that smile on you. He fashioned you. So God shaped you, formed you, and fashioned you. I like how the Apostle Paul said in the book of Ephesians, we are God's handiwork. God's hands shaped you and formed you. And I don't know about you, but when somebody that's really good at something they can get their hands on anything, it just turns out good. Just turn out good. And we're considered God's handiwork. God's hands, and when God's hands is on you, it will turn out good. God's hands will turn some mess into good. Now, it might not be the most attractive. It might not have the most appealing wrapping paper, but the gift inside is good. We are considered Paul said, for we are God's handiwork. In Ephesians chapter 2, verse 10, we are God's handiwork created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do. He prepared in advance the good works for us to do. So we are placed on this earth with a purpose. Everybody in this room, everybody watching right now have a purpose. We are sent on a mission. No matter how old you are, no matter how young you are, no matter your skin color, God has a plan for you. You are sent on a mission. You have a purpose. You are not useless. You are not meaningless. You are not unimportant. God has a purpose for you. The world might call people, your friends or the school might call you useless, but you're not useless in the eyes of God. You might be meaningless in the eyes of human, but you're not meaningless in the eyes of God. They might call you unimportant, but you're not unimportant in the eyes of God, because God has a plan for you. You're not too young to be used by God. You're not too young to be recruited by God. When God's ready to do something, He don't care about your age. He has a plan for you. Like the most quoted scripture, Jeremiah 29:4, for I know the plans I have for you. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you, to give you a future and the hope. And that makes us feel good. God has a plan for me. Like it gets us hyped, it gets us primed, and we be ready to go. God has a plan for me. We like, cool. But once we hear the plan, if it doesn't fit our conditions, then we start wrestling with it. God, come on, tell me your plan. He tell you the plan. Well, okay, now. That's not how I imagined it. And we love to hear that God has a plan for us, but then when we hear the plan and it's not fit to the conditions that we assumed it was going to be, we turn into Randy Jackson from American Idol. That's a no for me, dog. That's a no for me. God ever told you something like, that's a no for me? Come on, let's be honest. How many of you have told God no before? You want me to do what? You become reluctant. You start wrestling with it. It fits my own life. You want me to walk away from my corporate job and make less money working for a nonprofit? That's a no for me, dog. And when God is calling you to do something, it doesn't fit our conditions. God, you want me to walk away from a career that's paying me well, to do something for you in the kingdom that's going to pay less? That's a no. I can't do that. That's a no for me. You want me to step away from my booming comedy career where I'm growing and I'm sitting there like, I'm getting all the love. And now you want me to move back home to a place I said I wouldn't even consider moving back to? That's a no for me. And when a plan doesn't fit our conditions, we start wrestling with it. We start wrestling. You want me to forgive someone that's been very mean to me, that's been petty, that drags me on social media. You want me to forgive and take them out to lunch? That's a no for me. Pay for it too? No, God, come on now. But when God is putting something on your heart to do, you start wrestling because if God texts you right now with a plan He had for you and it wasn't fitting to the conditions that you wanted it to be, what would your response be? Would you be like, God, you know what? I'm a humble servant. I'm a willing vessel. Whatever you ask me, I'll do it. Or will you text Him back that funny gif of Shannon Sharp shaking his head? No. I ain't doing that. What would your response be? What would your response be? And when God says, I have a dope assignment for you. I love it, and I think you'll be perfect for it. You know what? Scratch that. I don't think, I know you'll be perfect for it. What would your response be? Because God is the type of person where, God is the type, like, He'll give a plan, and if it sounds crazy to us. Have God's plan ever sounded crazy to you? And you're like, God, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up what you want me to do, what you're telling me to do, what you put on my heart to do. It just doesn't sound right. Because there's times in my life where God puts something on my heart, and I said, God, I think you got the wrong Cornell Nichols. It's two others walking around. I don't think you mean a third. I think you mean my daddy. You know, I think you can use him, turn his life around. And here it is. God is telling Jeremiah, you're a prophet to the nations. And Jeremiah like, hold on, player. I can't speak for you. I'm too young. And have you ever been given an assignment and you immediately started giving a rundown of why you can't do it? An assignment and you just give a rundown like, God, I can't do this because I'm too young. I can't do this because I'm not smart enough. I can't do this because I don't have the resources I need to make this happen. I can't do this because this isn't what my parents had for me to do. Uh-oh. We talk about God's plan, but parents have plans for their children too. And a lot of time it's conflicting with what God is wanting to do. And kids struggle with the assignment like, hey, this is what God is telling me to do, but this is what my parents want from me. What should I do? I still remember when I made that decision to step away from my corporate. My mother was not on board with it. I'm going to let y'all know up front. She wasn't on board with it. She's like, Nick, I trust you and your relationship with God. Now, this is something that God is calling you to do. I'm back you 100%. But there's times where kids, the youth, children don't act on what God is telling them to do because of parents. Because everybody is helping mold the children. You got the school have a plan. This is what's best for you. Parents have a plan. This is what's best for you. And then God is called, tugging, said, this is what I want for you. And now you're getting pulled in so many directions. Like, my parents want this, my school wants this, and God wants this. What should I do? I'm being pulled in all this many directions. And you telling God, I can't do this because this isn't what my school have for me. This is what my parents have for me. I'm too young. I don't have the resource. We give God a rundown of why we can't complete the assignment. Because we look at our stuff we don't have. When that's a reason God might be calling you, say, hey, look, I can feel that. You're worried about what you don't have. Be worried about what you do have. And that's me. God, I don't have the resources. Don't worry. I'll bring the resources to you. Just get to moving. Just get to moving. God love you. God is on your side. And when we giving God a rundown of why we can't do what he's calling us to do, while we wrestling with the assignment, and God is saying, I know. I know, baby. I know. I'm still calling you. I know you young. I'm still calling you. I can still use. I know you don't have all the money. You broke. You poor. But I can use that. I know you don't have the resources, but I can work with that. I know you might not know how to speak well, but I can work with that. I can work with that. See, God already knows us. This text opened up with him telling Jeremiah, before I formed you in your mother's womb, I knew you. So I knew you. Before your parents slept together, I knew you. I knew you. Now I knew you. I chose you. I set you apart, and I appointed you. I knew you. I chose you. I consecrated you, and I appointed you. I knew you. I chose you. I knew you. I chose you. It's something about being known and chose. Known and chose. God know you, and yet he still chose you. He know all your little secrets, yet he still chose you. He know your heart, the true intentions of your heart. He know what's going on in that mind of yours, knows what's going on, knowing what you're struggling with behind closed doors, and yet he still chose you. He's like, Jeremy, I know you young, still gonna choose you. Something about being known and chose. Why do you think proposals are such celebrated? When somebody proposes, somebody's saying, look, if it's done right, the dating all done right, I know you. I know you in your good days. I know you in your bad days. And yet I still chose you. I know you when you're happy. I know you when you're sad. Yeah, I still chose you. I know you how you looking first thing in the morning. Still chose you. I know how you get when you hangry. I still chose you. And something about being known and chosen, and God still chose you in despite of knowing all your imperfections. Still chose you in spite of all your deficiencies and areas of insecurity, because this is what we're wrestling with, our own insecurities. I'm too young, I can't speak. That's what we're wrestling with, and God still chose you in spite of all your insecurities. You're not too much, you're not too much for God to handle. Now, you might be too much for the school, might be too much for the teachers, might be too much for your parents, but God can handle you. God can handle your imperfections. He can handle your flaws. He can handle areas of insecurity. He can handle that. So it doesn't matter. Like, He knows all that you're struggling with. And yet, He loves you so much to look beyond all your imperfections to still use you for His purpose. Feels good to be known and chose. Your imperfections might be too much to handle to people, but they are not too much to be handled by God. God can work with that. You just need to think about all your insecurity and say, God can work with that. God can work with that. What you're struggling with, God can work with it. God can work with it. It's something about, because like I said, we are God's handiwork. When people get their hand, when great, even in this life, when great people get their hands on something, some people just turns out good. And it makes me I got to share y'all a funny story about my great-grandmother. I'm so blessed to live 25 years of my life with a great-grandparent, my granny. And I remember one summer, it was early, I think me and my brother was in middle school, my mother went out of town for an entire summer. And she left us in the hands of our great-grandmother, who spoiled us. And it was, you remember, like she spoiled it. And I remember when she got there. So my mom cooked, but, she was always on the move, and we was always in school, so it didn't cook like that. Now, my great-grandmother, Granny, cooked. Cooked. And I remember one day I helped her down the steps because she wanted to see what my mama had in the deep freezer. And I showed her what all my mama had in deep freeze, and it was all this food. She said, all this uncooked meat? And she said, I can work with all this. And she worked with all that. She made our plates look so nice. And my grandmother, Sugar, tried to come over and eat our food. And she was telling her, no, this for the boys. We'll be outside playing basketball. And she like, when y'all done playing, y'all hot dogs and fries and all this stuff is ready for you. I know, sound good, don't it? And that was a phenomenal summer. And when my mom came back, we're like, you can stay for another month, All she did was knit, watch QVC, and cook. That's all my granny did. And spoiled us. But she was like, it stood out. She like, all this food that's in there, I can work with that. And when you can believe that, huh? She worked the mess out of that food, and she can work with all that. And some people, you could just give them scraps, and they just know what to do with it. You could just give them scraps. And while we're giving God a list of our scraps, God a list of our areas that we're insecure, areas of deficiency, He's like, I can work with all this, bits and pieces together. You might be broken, but I can work with you. Your confidence might be broken, but I can work with that. Your trust might be broken by people, but I can work with that. If you allow me to step in, I can work with all that. I can put you back together, and I can make it do what it do. God can work with that. You have a stutter, Moses? I can work with that. You young Jeremiah? I can work with that. You a prostitute, Rahab? I can work with that. You're barren, Hannah? I can work with that. I don't know what you're going through, but God can work through that. You can have a stutter. You could be young. You can be a convict. You can be a prostitute. God can work with that. God can work with that. Like a lot of us be like, I'm an introvert. God can work with that. You think I wanted to do this? No. No. I just wanted to play ball and that's it. And then that career ended and now he's moving me on up to public speaking. I'm like, no, I can't do that. I can work with that. Because when you have been approved and appointed, picked and positioned, God will take all your imperfections, your insecurities, and make it do what it do. He can work with all that. When you picked, Jeremiah was approved and appointed. He was picked and positioned. This is the history says he's he's at least 17 years old. So he's a teenager being picked and positioned, approved and appointed, and he is wrestling. They call him the reluctant prophet. He was unwilling. He really didn't know. He didn't go all in at first. Like a lot of us, we hesitate. Like when it's like God's plan for us is double dutch, and you just sitting there hesitating on whether you should jump in or not, whether you should participate or not, whether you should partner or not on the plans of God. But what God was calling him to do was scary. And he said, I can't do this. I can't do it. What you calling me to do? Because we wrestle, he's wrestling, and we wrestle with the assignment because of the weight of the assignment. It's heavy. This was simply heavy. It was heavy. What God was calling us to see, at this time, the people of nation Judah, they was comfortable in wickedness. And that's the scary part. When you're comfortable doing wrong, the last thing you want to hear is somebody trying to tell you to do right. When people are comfortable just living a lie, people are comfortable doing what they're doing, the last thing they need is a teenager coming up to them, pronouncing God's judgment. And think about it. So that's scary. These people are comfortable doing wrong. They don't want to hear they're unresponsive, and they're immune to the threat of divine judgment. And you want me to go talk to them. You want me to go speak to them. I can't do that. I can't. What makes you think they're going to listen to me? What makes you think they're comfortable? Now I can see if they were struggling. No, they're sitting in sin. They're sitting in it. Like Bishop always say, slip but don't slide. They sliding. And they comfortable sliding. They not slowing down one bit, and you want me to go talk to them. I can't do it. But most of us are happy to step up to the plate when a task is easy. It's easy to step up to the plate when you know the task is easy. We do it a lot in school. When a teacher asks an easy question, everybody raising their hand. I know, I can answer that question. But when a question is hard, teachers got to call out somebody. Because you're like, you wrestling. I don't know if I know the answer. I don't want to look stupid. I don't want to look stupid. When a task is easy, everybody want to participate. It's easy to step up to the plate. It's easy to be like, hey, pick me. Hey, pick me. Pick me when a task is easy. I remember in school, in college, we had something called board work. And basically, all board work was the professor would call up a few students to come up in the front of the class, and you got to work out some of the homework problems in front of the whole class. So the whole class is judging you while you're working. So if you didn't know the answer, you just up there looking stupid. And so when the professor had an easy homework assignment, everybody was volunteering to do the board work. Like, hey, I can do this. Call me up there, professor. And they working, but when it was hard and nobody knew what they were doing, the professor had to, all right, y'all gonna make me call somebody. Because nobody want to look stupid. The weight of the assignment was too heavy to, I might fail. And I don't want to fail in front of people. Now, if this was just a one-on-one tutor session, cool, but the class is watching. And they can tell that I don't know what I'm doing. But But he doesn't care about if your insecurities to the point where don't let your insecurities prevent you from participating in the assignment. Because most of us are happy and we wrestle with the assignment because of the weight of the assignment. And when the weight of the assignment is heavy, it becomes overwhelming. And it can become overwhelming because it's outside of our comfort zone. God and comfort zone do not mix. Growth and comfort zone do not mix. You can't say you want to grow. You want to grow in an area and not expect to get out your comfort zone. You can't say you want to grow as a speaker and be afraid to get up and speak. You can't say you want to grow in your confidence and be afraid to do stuff in front of people. Because that's gonna push your confidence forward. I mean, like, God would not let me fail. If I put in the work, I won't fail. And even if I do fall short, I still gain something. And that's the part about failing. You might come up short, but you learn from, okay, I missed the mark. Now I know what to do to hit the mark. I got it wrong this time. Now I know what to do to get it right next time. And so to me, that's a win. Now, if you keep failing over and over and over, doing the same thing, that's insanity. That means you're not learning your lesson. But we wrestle because it's outside of our comfort zone. God will always call you outside of the comfort zone. What God was calling Jeremiah to do was outside of the comfort zone. You want me to speak to these heathens. You want me to speak to these folk that's doing wrong. Outside of the comfort zone. God called you according to his purpose, not our conveniences. Purpose over preference. If you think about that, that's what it is. Purpose over preference. God's purpose is over the preference that you have. God called you. God doesn't care about your preferences. He doesn't care if you feel like doing it. He doesn't care about how convenient it is for you. He just cares about your participation. He cares about your partnership. That's what he wants. He's looking for willing vessels. If you're willing to participate in his plans, yes, that's what he wants from you. He wants your willing participation. He wants your partnership. Are you willing to partner with God on his plan for you? He can tell you the plan all day. This is the plan, but are you willing to go all in? All in. That should be somebody's phrase this year, all in. All in. I know we were talking about thrive. If you want to thrive in 20, you need to go all in. Go all in. Purpose over preference. Are you willing to participate in God's plan? Because let me tell you, you participate in other people's plans. You participate in the plans of your best friends, the plans of your parents, the plans of your school. You participate in those plans. Hey girl, we gonna do this after homecoming. We're gonna do this after prom. We're gonna apply for the same school. We're gonna study the same major. We're gonna have kids around the same age so they can grow up together and be best friends, be sister cousins, all that stuff. They can do all this stuff. You participate in those plans. Oh, those plans sound great. Those plans sound great. You go all in on that one. But what happens? Do you keep that same energy with the plans of God? Saw that a lot, especially senior year of high school. A lot of people applying to schools they really don't want to go to, but because they friends applying, they want to go be with them. And that may not be the place where God is calling you. We wrestle because it's out of our comfort zone. The assignment is outside of our comfort zone. We wrestle with the assignment because of fear. Fear. And two fears we look at. The fear of we're not enough. And the fear of opposition. The fear we simply don't think we're enough to do what God is calling us to do. We fear. We fear that we're not fit for the job. Jeremiah had a feeling he wasn't fit for the job. I'm too young and I can't speak. I'm not qualified to do this prophet work that you're calling me to do, God. That's not me. And the weight of the assignment can have you feeling like you're not enough. But I'm here to tell you that all that you are is enough. What God has placed on the inside of you is enough. He has designed and equipped you to accomplish everything He created you to do. He has equipped you to handle all. God would not bring you this far. God would not bring you to something to only have you fend for yourself. He's going to equip you for it. And He equipped Jeremiah for it. In verse 9, he said, the Lord reached out His hand and touched my mouth and said to me, I have put my words in your mouth. Yeah. So here it is. You saying, God, I can't speak. I'm too young. Boom. You can speak now. Say whatever I just put in your mouth. I can work with that. I just fixed that. So now what's your excuse? Some people just have excuses. Some people just love having excuses. Like, even when you fix that excuse, another one pop up. You fix that one, now it's the point you just don't want to do it, bro. You're worried. He was worried about not being able to speak, and bam, God put His words in his mouth. Because God doesn't call the qualified. He does what? He qualifies the call, and fear of not being enough will have you wrestling with the assignment because you are enough. I don't know, I need to hear that you are enough. All that you bring to the table, those insecurities you bring, those imperfections you bring, those deficiencies you bring, God, I can work with that. You are enough. Because fear of not being enough will really hold you back. It'll really have you not go all in on the blessings God has for you. God can do so much through you if you just believe that when He calls you something that you are enough. Like me and my wife talk about this all the time when I talk about how, I felt like I was enough when it came to wrestling with the decision to date her or not. Because I'm not a parent. Never have. I haven't. And so stepping into that role, that's a challenging role. Especially when the child is already foundation set. So stepping into a role that you have no experience in, it can be challenging. And I remember I'm like, God, I don't know why you making this happen, because I don't know. Let's be honest. Like, I don't know. I don't know how this is going to work. I never did that. You're calling me to do something I never did. Now, if this was, if I had some experience, knew what I was doing, then cool. But I heard God say, I can work with that. I can work with that. You scared, you fearful, but I can work with that. I understand why you feel the way you feel, but don't let that not go all in for what I'm trying to do. And then over time, I ain't gonna stunt. I love it. I love it. Some people don't like parenting teenagers, but goodness gracious, I love it. Look at people, he must be drunk up there or something. I don't know what he up there on. Bishop need to get him off because he just said he like parenting teenagers. Never heard somebody say that, but I love it. I love it. But it's like fear. The fear of you not being enough can really hold you back from what God is trying to do. Fear of not being enough. And when you feel like you're not enough and you go all in on it, it will start to feel natural. It'll start to feel like, oh man, this is coming a little easy. And that's God just saying, hey, filling in that gap. Filling in that gap of where you were and where He's trying to get you to. Yeah. That's just Him qualifying you. That's all it's doing. So fear of not being enough will have you wrestling, and fear of opposition. And that's the biggest one's opposition. It's people. He's 17. He's, at least 17 years old. He's a teenager. He got to go up against these people, talking to them about judgment. Like they going, okay, I like that. Yeah, that's cool. I know people that's not going to listen. People that's comfortable with sin, comfortable in what they're doing, comfortable in worshiping other gods. They're comfortable doing what they're doing. And so for a kid to come in and try to change their mind on what they've been used to is a difficult task. And so he's fear of opposition. Now, Jeremiah doesn't say he was scared of the people. But the fact that God is saying, do not be afraid. Do not be afraid of the people, for I am with you. And we hear this same type of encouragement from God when it came to Joshua. Do not be afraid, for I'm with the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. Be strong and courageous. Be strong and courageous, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. And God is telling him, I'm with you. I'm with you. He said, don't be afraid. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid. He said, do not be afraid of the people, for I'll be with you and I'll protect you. I'll be with you and I'll protect you. Then he's saying, get up and prepare for action. Get up. I'm going to make you strong. Then he said, don't be scared of them, because if you're scared of them, I'm going to make you look scared in front of them. And we don't want that. We don't want people to know we're scared. We want people to know that we're timid. It's crazy. That's all confidence is. When people do something like this, like I remember, like even doing shows, you timid, you fearful, but they don't see it. But God's saying, don't show that. Don't be scared. Because if you show that emotion in front of them, I'm going to make you look foolish in front of them. And he said, get up, prepare for actions. And he said, today I have made you strong. Today I have made you strong. I know you're reluctant right now, but I'm going to make you strong. I know you're wrestling right now, but I'll make you strong. I know you iffy on going all in for what I'm calling you to do, but I'll make you strong. I'll make you strong like a fortified city that cannot be captured. Like God is like the best hype man to me. It's like if you about to enter a battle, you about to go to war, you just have God talking to you and just saying, I have made you strong today. It's like, oh, okay, cool, let's go. Let's go like a fortified city. I could just imagine like Morgan Freeman just saying that to me. I'm just feeling good. Just feeling good. They cannot be captured. You're like an iron pillar. Like, okay, I'm an iron pillar. Bronze wall, I like that, God. Keep talking. And you will stand against the whole land. The priests, all these people, you're going to stand in front of them, stand against them. And guess what? They will fight you, but they will fail. Yeah. So they're not going to like what you have to say. They're going to go against what you have to say, but they will fail. They're going to talk down on you, but they will fail. They're going to try to drag your name on the internet, but they will fail in trying to stop you from doing what I called you to do. For I, the Lord, have spoken. God will take care of you. If you're wrestling with assignment because it's simply outside of your comfort zone, God will take care of you. If you're wrestling with assignment because you feel like you're simply not enough, God will take care of you. And as I close, I just want to remind y'all that God will take care of you. All those times that you feel like I don't know if I can do it. We all human. We have time we feel like, I can't do this. God, I can't do this parenting stuff. Why you call me to this? God, I can't. A lot of us be questioning as things goes on, like, I don't know. I don't know if this is for me. And you started having doubts with yourself. Having doubts, being fearful, and not trying to truly go all in. Someone say all in. All in. Stop wrestling with the assignment. I mean, I understand why you wrestling, because I'm human too. And I understand that some stuff is scary. Some stuff is uncomfortable. Some stuff is uneasy and goes against our human mind. Because we all have a human mind that goes against, it doesn't make sense. We're trying to make sense and trying to understand what God is wanting us to do. But stop wrestling because of that. Own it. Own the assignment and walk confidently in the assignment. God called you for a reason. He didn't call you by mistake. He didn't drunk dial you. He didn't butt call you. No, he called you on purpose. He called you on purpose. And my question is, what will your response be? What's your response? Are you going to respond to the call? You're going to answer the call? Or you're going to ghost God? A lot of us ghost God. We hear he wants us to do something we don't really understand. We just going, I'm not going to answer that. I'm not going to go with that. Ghosting God. Are you guilty of ghosting God? And remember, His purpose for your life, we all have a purpose. We all designed by God to have a purpose. But His purpose requires our participation. His purpose requires our partnership. And are you willing to go all in? Are you willing to partner with the plans God has for you? Or are you going to continue wrestling with the assignment? That's my time. I appreciate y'all.